Okay, good morning, everyone, and Hazak Baruch. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning. My friends, as we are studying together Perashat Toledot. Perashat Toledot, as we are introduced to the births of the twins, Esav and Yaakov. And it's very interesting, the Pasuk, when it introduces us to Esav, the Pasuk says, Vayetze harishon admoni kulo ke'aderet se'ar. The first one emerged red. Kulo ke'aderet se'ar. Entirely like a hairy mantle. Vayikre'u shemo Esav. Okay? Now, again, there's a lot of midrashim on that word, harishon. Maybe you're familiar with the word harishon that appears here by Esav, and the harishon of the holiday of Sukkot, ulkahtim lachem bayom harishon. But either way, what does that mean that he's first and foremost? But I want to share with you today, on all the different midrashim that we have, I want to share with you a fascinating story, okay, that the midrash brings down. And here we go on this pasuk. Midrash here begins. Diocletianus. There was a king, Diocletian, I think is how you pronounce it in English. In the Midrash, Diocletianus. Okay, he's an emperor that we know existed in Rome. King Diocletianus, Malka, Hava ra'e hazirin bahada Teveria. Originally, before he was an emperor, he was a herder of pigs near the city of Teveria. Okay, so he wasn't born into royalty, this little kid. King Diocletian. Now, unfortunately, whenever Rebbe's students would finish learning or on their way to the study hall, some of the young children would go and bother this little kid who would one day become the emperor. Okay, obviously it's not nice to do that, but sometimes kids, they do not nice things. And these Jewish boys on the way out or in of the study hall, they would go and they would pick on this Roman pig herder. Lebatar yomin, sometime later, it abed melech, he became a king. And now that he's a king, of course, the first thing he wanted to make sure to do is to get revenge against the Jewish people for the earlier humiliation that he experienced as a child from these Jewish boys. Nehat v'yativ le bahada Panias. So what did he do? He went next to the city of Panias. Ushlah ketavim l'Tveria. He sent letters to Tiberia, to that town where he grew up as a little boy. He sent the letters right before Shabbat began on Friday afternoon. You'll see in a second why he did this. And he writes the following in the letters. Ana Yahev Kilvan. I am issuing a decree. The Yehevon Rabrabane de Yehudae, that the Jewish leaders, Kaimin Kodami, should appear in front of me. Betsafra Tehad Beshabta. On Sunday morning. So he sends this letter on Friday afternoon, right before Shabbat begins. So the rabbis didn't have time to jump on a flight to get to Rome before Shabbat starts. So now I want them in front of me on Sunday. Now, again, he was trying to set it up that they should for sure fail in his decree. Pakde lishliha, and he commanded his messenger, Amar le, he said to him, Lo teten yaton lehon, don't give them this letter, ela im mit'ameh yomed arafta, until the closing of the sunset of Friday afternoon. Yani, when Shabbat begins, then give them the letter and say, here, these, you're being served. The rabbi wants you, the Roman emperor wants you on Sunday morning in front of him in Rome. Well, the rabbis get the letter, And they don't realize that they're in trouble. This is obviously a setup. And Nahat Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman lemisheh. Rav Shmuel bar Nachman went down that day on the river. He went down on Friday afternoon to bathe. They didn't have showers in the house back then. So where did they bathe? They bathed in the river. So the Gemara says Friday afternoon, Rav Shmuel went to get ready for Shabbat in the river. Hamel Rabbi Dahava Kaim Kome Sidra Rabbah. He saw Rebbe standing there in front of the great house of study. Ra'a panav holaniyot. And he saw Rebbe was sick. He saw him pale. Amar lo, he said, Lama panecha holiyot, why are you sick? Amar ken veken ishtadar li katavin min malchuta. Rebbe said, such and such was sent to me in a letter from the king. Okay, we just got this bad news that we have to appear to the king on Sunday morning. Amar le, Rav Shmuel said to him, Ita sehe, come and bathe with me. The bariach avad lana nisin. Your creator, bariach, right? Your creator, boreh, your creator will do miracles. Don't worry, Rabbi. Trust in Hashem. Right now we have to get ready for Shabbat. It doesn't help to worry. Okay? We're going to figure it out. But in the meantime, let's just go get ready for Shabbat. Okay? So they went to bathe, and then the demon of the bathhouse, okay, came to start dancing in front of them. I guess mocking them. He was laughing. Rabbi wanted to rebuke the demon. Rabbi Shmuel said to Rabbi Shavke, leave him. Zimnin al nisin hu mithama. Sometimes it's this demon of the bathhouse that is sent by God to perform miracles. Amarle. So Rav Shmuel said to the demon, Marach be'aka, your master here, Rebbe, is suffering. Ve'at ka'em gahichum raked, and you are standing and laughing and dancing. Marlehon, the demon responded, Azalun, go, achlun, eat, shetun, drink. Avdun Shabbat haba, go and have a nice Shabbat. Temarechon avid lechon nisin. Your master will do miracles for you. Don't worry about the decree. Don't worry about arriving at the palace on Sunday morning. I have inside information that you'll make it in time. Ani mekim lecho kodamai betzafra dehab Shabbat. I will present you before the king on Sunday. Ba'afukei Shabta, after Shabbat on Saturday night, Patar Sidra, after the Kedusha, in Arbit we have to pray, we say Kadosh, Kadosh. We don't usually pray the Sidra. We don't usually say Kedusha on an Arbit. We go straight after the Amidah to Shir Lama'alot Esayin Al-Yarim and then Aleinu L'Shabeyah. On Saturday night, there's a Sidra de Kedusha. We say Uba Letzion. Very important to say that on Saturday night. And it's right here, you see it in the Midrash. It says after Saturday night, after the Sidra, Nesabon ve'akimon kadam peyale de Panias. He took them and put them in front of the king's courtyard in Panias. Okay, they had a miracle. They were standing now, Saturday night, in front of the gate. Alun ve'amrin le, hay kaimin kadam peyale. The king's servants went and they told the king, the Jews are standing in front of the gate. I'm not sure how they got here so fast. Amar, the king, again, he's trying to delay and try to get them in trouble. He said, Sagrun peyali, close the gate, don't let them in. Nesabhon, the demon, carried them, Va'akmon, and situated them, Al metaksa dimdinata, in the center of the province. Somehow, they went through the gate to the other side. Alu ve'amrin le, they came and told the king what had occurred. Amar ana kilvan, the king said, I decree the yidzun be bene telata yomeh, that the bathhouse should be heated for 3 days. Ve'ya'alun ve'yishun, they should go up and bathe. Ve'ye'eton legabai, and then come to me. King said, change of plans. I know I told them to appear Sunday, but actually I'm thinking about it. It's not appropriate for them to appear in front of me dirty. I let them bathe for 3 days. And he commanded that the bathhouse should be boiling hot. Again, he's just trying to get them to mess up. Azlun, they went. Idzun be bena, they heated the bathhouse. Tlatayomi for 3 days. Ve'al had arganiton, what happened? The demon went up. Umzaga. He poured water. He cooled down the temperature. Ve'alu, the rabbis went in. Yashun ve'atun legabeh. And they were able to bathe in warm water without getting burned. And finally, the messengers of the king realized that there's no other way around this. The miracles are going to keep happening. So they come in front of the king. Amar lehon, the king said, Begin de'atun yad'in de'alehochon yaved lechon nisin. Because you Jews know that your God's going to do miracles for you. Atun mekilin lemalka. Does that give you the right to act disrespectfully to the king? So he's already telling them that he's upset because he was mistreated. He was disrespected. Now he didn't tell them when he was disrespected. He just said it very lightly. Just because you're rabbis and you know Hashem will do miracles, so that gives you the right to disrespect the king? The rabbis were much wiser. Amrin le, they said back, le dikilatianus ra'eh hazirin akalenan. Maybe to I don't know how you pronounce this. To Diocletian, the herder of pigs, we acted lightly. But to Diocletian, the king, we are subjected. Maybe to Diocletianus, the pig herder, maybe someone embarrassed you when you were a pig herder. But no one would embarrass you. We are subjugated to you as the king. Amar lehon, afilu ken la tebezun la beromi ze'er, vela beguliar ze'er. And the king responded, listen to this last line. Even so, maybe you don't disrespect me as a king, but you should never mock even a young Roman, nor should you mock even a young servant of kings. And says the Midrash, because look what happened, eventually this little Roman pig herder became the king. And this is what it means when it says by Esav that he came out kulo ke'aderet se'ar. He was entirely like an aderet se'ar. The Midrash has a very interesting take, and it brought you this whole story for the following one-liner. Kulo ra'ui le'aderet. Every single one of the Roman people is fit to wear an officer's mantle. Every single person, even the tiniest of them, even the pig herder, he has the potential one day to become the emperor and wear the mantle. Kulo, every single kid can become an aderet se'ar, will one day be able to wear this mantle of kingship. And what the Mishnah, what the Midrash over here is teaching us, my friends, is what we know from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Mishnah tells us, Al tehi baz lechol adam. Never despise a single person. We should never treat people lightly. We should never think, I don't need them. I'll never benefit from them. The Midrash is teaching us through this story. It happens to be with a Roman officer. And the story is recorded as the Roman saying, don't despise a Roman kid. But the truth is, it's about everyone and anyone. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Al tehi baz lechol adam. Never dismiss somebody. Never burn bridges with anyone. Never think that there's someone that you'll never need. She'en lecha adam, she'en lo sha'a. Every person has their time. Every person has their moment. Don't burn bridges. Maybe you don't think you'll need them one day. Maybe for today, for sure, you don't need them. You're the boss. You're in charge. And sometimes we have to make decisions. And we make decisions and we forget that the person on the other side of that decision, one day he may be your boss. You may need them. And so don't burn bridges. Even if you have to do something that's hurtful, do it respectfully. You have to fire someone, okay, but do it with respect. Do it with derech eretz. How do you know that you're not going to need them? Maybe one day they're going to be at a very important place that they're going to be able to put in a good word or a bad word for you. I know many stories, and I'm sure you know many stories. I have a very close student over here in the synagogue. He went out with a girl, and it didn't work out well. So he broke up. But you know what? Most people, unfortunately today, if you break up with someone, good luck and goodbye, and they do it maybe on a text. They don't even do it sometimes. They don't even tell them. They just go AWOL. They just ghost. You know, you go out with someone a few times, you already have something going, and then you decide to change your mind, and there's no warning, there's no indication, there's no text message, there's no, courtesy. A text, just send the guy a text, send her a text. By the way, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed spending time with you. It's just not for me. I don't see us together, and good luck and goodbye. I hope you have a lot of success. A lot of times we don't even have the courtesy, the decency to just send a little text. And we burn bridges. And we think that it don't matter. Because anyways, that's it. She's not for me. I'm never going to need her again. Al tehi baz lechol adam. Don't act like that. You never know. You never know. This student of mine I'm telling you about, he went out with a girl, didn't work out well. He ended it like a mensch. He ended it properly. Guess what? The next girl that he was suggested, he meets another girl. Who is the second girl that he meets? The roommate of the first girl that he went out with. And she goes back and she says, I just went out with this guy. His name is so-and-so. And the girl says, what? I know him. I went out with him. What? And? Oh, what a good kid. It didn't work out between us, but he was respectful. She says, yeah, okay, I'll go out with him. And she went out and then I'm married. Bezat Hashem, expecting children soon. Imagine he would have thrown her to the side. I don't need you anymore. You're useless to me. Now he goes out with the roommate. The roommate says, stay away. He's a jerk. He's a loser. He's a nobody. He's mean. He's rude. He's ruthless. And in the Adam she'en lo sha'a. You never know when you're going to need this person. Maybe you remember as a child the famous tale of the lion and the mouse. The lion and the mouse, where the lion catches the mouse and he's about to have him for lunch. And the mouse pleads and begs for his life. And the lion's like, why should I save you? And he says, you never know, you may need me. And the lion laughs and he says, you a little mouse? How am I going to ever need you? He says, you never know, but it doesn't hurt. And for some reason he lets the mouse go. And sure enough, as the story continues and plays out, eventually the lion was captured by hunters. And as he's in this net, caught up, who comes to save him? The little mouse. He starts biting through the net, opening it up for the lion to escape. En lecha adam she'en lo sha'a. The Jewish people of the emperor of Diocletian, or whatever his name is, they learned the hard way. He taught them a good lesson that day, the rabbis. You shouldn't make fun of anyone for any reason. It was not okay for the kids to make fun of him when it was just because he's a pig herder. They shouldn't have made fun of him. But sometimes a person needs to also have a little motivation as kids. We don't always have our values straight. But what an important lesson. At least remember, this kid, who knows what he'll be. Just for that alone, be nice to people. Of course, you should be nice to people, period. Not because you're going to get anything back. Just because you're a good person, you want to be nice to people. But sometimes you need a shelo lishma. You need a motivation that's not necessarily altruistic. Remember, one day you may need him. He may be your boss. He may be on the other side. Rabbi Pesach Krohn brings a great story that happened in the Syrian community in Brooklyn. There was a fellow. It was a wedding. So they're in the car on the way to parking for the valet, on the valet line. And in front of him there was a lady. She was also in the car for the valet, but she was going slow. She wasn't paying attention to the line. When it's inching up, you want them to move and inch up. And she was just, I don't know exactly what was going on, but he was a little bit fed up, this guy behind her. So he cut her off in the line to the valet. He cut her off one car. So finally he cuts her off. She honks him. She's a little bit annoyed, but okay, whatever. It's one car. It's not a big deal. He gets out of the car. He hands him the ticket. And he walks into the wedding, this fellow, this guy, Harry. And the lady behind him, When she gets to the valet, she's the next car. The valet guy says to her, ma'am, I'm sorry, we're closed. We're not taking any more cars. That was the last car we're taking. And the lady's like, what are you talking about? That was my spot. The guy cut me. He's like, sorry, lady, no more spots. You got to find your own parking. She's like, but I'm in my heels. I have my... Sorry, lady, that was the last spot. She realized that the guy cutting her off was a big deal. It was the last spot. She was very upset at him. She has to look around and circle and find parking. She finally gets into the wedding hall. Who does she look for? The first person is that guy, Harry. She makes a beeline. She goes to the guy. You're rude. Shame on you. Where's your respect? She's yelling at the guy in the middle of this wedding around everyone looking. The guy's like, listen, you lady, you snooze, you lose, whatever he told her. And with that, they separated ways. Well, 6 months later, it's Yom Kippur time, the season of apologies. And this guy, Harry, picks up the phone, and who does he call? He calls this lady that he cut off on the valet line. And he says, if you remember me, but, the wedding, and I cut you off. He's like, yeah, of course I remember. How could I forget? He's like, well, listen, it was very silly of me. I just wanted to apologize that I did that to you. It wasn't nice. I should have been more patient. And all of a sudden, her guard went down. She's like, oh, okay. I mean, why are you calling to apologize? He said, well, it's Yom Kippur, holidays. We're asking Hashem for forgiveness, and it's also important for us to ask people for forgiveness. So I just wanted to ask you for forgiveness. And she's like, what? That's what we do this time of the year? She's like, yeah, that's what we do. It's like, wow, okay. I mean, yeah, of course, I forgive you. I mean, the truth is, I shouldn't have been in myself also. I didn't have to do that, and I didn't have to come yell at you in front of people. Do you forgive me? He says, yeah, of course, I forgive you. And they made shalom on the phone call, and that was it. They hung up. However, my friends, that was not it. Because just 1 year later, the Shadchani calls up this lady, and she says, I have a great match for your son. She says, who do you got? And she tells her, this girl, and the last name, Ashkenazi. And she says, oh, and who's the father? And his father has Harry. And the lady says, Harry Ashkenazi? I know Harry Ashkenazi. She says, really? How do you know Harry? Harry, we met at a wedding once, at a valet line. She's like, and what do you think? He said, what do I think? It would be an honor for my son to marry the daughter of Harry. Such a refined person who called and apologized. Of course, they went out, they got married. Today they live with grandkids. And it is just a reminder, my friends, for all of us. You never know. You never know when you're going to need someone, who they may be one day. They may be your consuegro. And therefore, don't create enemies. Sometimes you got to do things. Okay, but do it like a person. Do it respectfully. Keep your options open. Don't throw rocks at a Roman pig herder, because one day he can become a great person. And this is true of people. It's true of things. I mean, how many stories do we know of in the Holocaust? People that were their lives were saved because they or their loved ones were considerate to an officer. There's stories, a lot of stories like this. And everyone has their time to shine. Everyone has their hour in the sun. People have their moment. And when someone's moment comes, you don't want them coming out against you. And al tehi maflig lechol davar. This is true also not only with people, by the way. This is true with things. Everything has, a time and a place. Don't disdain anything. Al tehi maflig lechol davar. Yaakov Avinu, we're going to read in a couple of weeks. He knew this. Yaakov Avinu, he went back over the river to go get little jugs, pachim ktanim. Why? Little jugs, how are they going to... You never know. You may need it. It may save your life. David HaMelech, one time, he made this mistake. David HaMelech, he said to God, I think, you didn't necessarily need to create everything that you created. Like, as an example, what use do spiders have, mosquitoes have, insanity. Those were the three specific things. He couldn't figure out why God created those things. God said, David, Al tehibaz lechol davar. Don't ever despise anything. You may need it one day. You may need that thing. Of course, we know the story. That David HaMelech indeed needed these three specific things. When he questioned God for the need of insanity, the Torah, the Navi tells us the story that eventually he was captured by Achish, the king of Gat. And the soldiers said, King, we caught him, we caught David. He's like, what? General, the king, David, the hardest man on the planet to find, you found him? Show me. And what did David do? David started acting insane. He started acting insane. And the king was very offended when he saw that, because his own son was insane. And he told his generals, he told his soldiers, well, you found me a lunatic in the marketplace to make fun of me, to make fun of my son? You think that's the king David, that lunatic over there? Get out of here. Don't ever bother me again with this nonsense. And David, by faking that he was not mentally well, he was able to escape. Another story is told when he was taking the spear from Shaul, from the king Shaul who was trying to kill him. And he went into the cave to take the spear. And as he went into the cave, and they were all sleeping, the general who was guarding Shaul moved over. And he blocked the entrance to the cave as he shifted. And now David's stuck in the cave and he can't leave. And God brings a little mosquito and goes in the ear of the general, causes him to move and to shift back. And of course, David was able to escape out of the cave again. And God says, you're making fun of mosquitoes. Look, the little mosquito saved your life, buddy. He caused the general to shift back to allow you to exit the cave. And the final example is with the spider web. Of course, we know when he was on the run, he ran into a cave, and quickly God sent the spider to go spin a web at the entrance. And when the king and the men arrived, they saw the cave with the spider web. They concluded that no one must have entered, and they continued looking elsewhere. And so David's life was spared because of these three unnecessary things. Nothing is ever unnecessary. We should always appreciate the blessings that God gives us. We should appreciate the people that we have in our lives. We should appreciate ourselves. Everyone was born with a tafkid. Everyone was born with a mission. Everyone has their moment. Everyone has their contribution. Maybe they're not going to be a major player, but they have a time. Everything has a purpose. Every person is here for a reason. And so don't burn bridges. Don't destroy or ruin your relationships with the people around you. And like we learned from this Roman pig herder, he became the king, and he taught the rabbis that morning a very big lesson. Kulo ke'aderet se'ar. Every single person one day may be wearing the robe of kingship, and on that day, you don't want to be on his hit list. You don't want him having to get revenge against you. And even if that alone is the motivation, to always treat the people around us with the utmost of respect. Okay, my friends, we'll stop over here. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.